today the topics what we are going to see is we will be setting up your computer and installing Flutter, and we will go through the softwares whatever we have installed, so that you'll understand the UI and how to navigate across. And the next topic is integrated development environments. You might have heard the word IDE, right? IDE means integrated development environments. I'll be sharing some introduction about what is meant by IDE and what are the different types of IDEs we have and how we get benefited out of it. And the next thing is Dartpad. If you are having a low-end desktop and if you are unable to install Flutter, Dartpad is something you can quickly use. It doesn't mean that if you are having Flutter already installed, you always have to go with your local setup. You can still use Dartpad for trying out some quick examples. So for setting up the Flutter, so I have requested you to download the Flutter Windows file and then the Android Studio file. Okay, you can start downloading now. I'm just going to start my VM where I have downloaded those files. Oracle VM VirtualBox. So right now you'll be having these two files. What we'll do is we'll just follow the instructions whatever mentioned over here. This is the document what we are going to follow. For the guys who are following this, don't try to remember all this stuff, because when it comes to setup, you don't have to remember it. Okay, so there will be a step-by-step instruction in the most of the sites. Wherever in the official documentation they will be having a step-by-step instructions. You just have to read it and follow every time. For example, if you think that I can't do Flutter installation without following the documentation, you don't know Flutter. There is no need to think like that. As long as you are able to follow step-by-step instructions, and then if you are able to do it successfully, that is sufficient for you to begin with. Maybe if you are practicing Flutter for 10 years and still you don't know about installation, that is very fine, because you will be doing it one or twice. That's why it's not important to by heart anything. As long as you are able to follow, that is fine. Here are the system requirements they have given. In case if you are getting any issues, this is something what you should check. Okay, so what are minimum operating system required? Like they mentioned Windows 7, and they said 64-bit only. If you are having a 34-bit machine, you won't be able to install Flutter. So disk space is, they mentioned this 1.32 GB. Probably I think you will be having more than that. And anyways, you will be installing the other stuff also, so you might need more space. Okay, for installing other softwares like emulator and all this stuff. And tools, these are some of the tools which they have mentioned. Git for Windows, and then Windows PowerShell 5.0. As I mentioned, I will be covering knowing Git, working as a team. So you can see Git is one of the prerequisite for installing Flutter. Windows PowerShell, I think this will be pre-installed with Windows 10. Okay, they have mentioned the same thing. So these are the prerequisites. You really don't have to follow these prerequisites. What I mean is, you just don't have to check whether PowerShell is installed or not, Git is installed or not. Just go to the get Flutter SDK. Okay, get the Flutter SDK. So you have downloaded this file. Now what we are going to do is, we are going to extract the zip file and place the content Flutter in the desired location. Okay, so they have recommended us to extract Flutter in this folder. So, and they are saying that don't install Flutter in C:\program files, because that requires elevated privileges. Elevated privileges means nothing but, for example, if you take this program, you just have to right click on it, and then you have to, there will be option run as administrator. Okay, if you are not seeing run as administration option, you just have to hold shift and then right click. Okay, so it's not showing. So here it is showing run as administrator, which means that you are running with elevated privileges. Even though you are part of administrator, still you need to run as administrator in order to run a program with elevated privileges, which means that you are giving that particular program to run with more permissions. So that's why it's not recommended to install it over here. If you have already downloaded and extracted it in this path, you just go ahead and delete it, and then you can install it over here. So let's do it. So what I will do is I'll just go to C drive. Okay, and then create a new folder called src. This is a .zip file, so you can actually extract it. Just right click on it, extract all. So I'm going to give the path src and then extract. So let it finish. So we'll get back to this later. In the meantime, what we'll cover is integrated development environment. So integrated development environment is, for example, if you take C programming language, okay, you will be using something like Borland C or Turbo C, right? Or something else. You are using some tool to write your C programming languages. You are using some tool to write some program. That tool is called integrated development environment, IDE. For example, if you want to ask some guy what software he is using to develop Java, okay, the actual question you should ask is what IDE you are using to code in Java, what IDE you are using to code in C, what IDE you are going to use in C++. If you know more IDEs, for example, like you already know Borland C or Turbo C, and you might be using something for Java, right? I think probably for coding in Java, you guys might be using some, opening some notepads and doing it. In Python, probably Python itself might have given some IDE, probably you guys might be using that. But those IDEs are not appealing, like they are not too much appealing, like hovering around, moving around that IDE will be really tough, because these companies are investing in the core of the software, and they are really giving opportunity for the other companies to come up with some IDEs for them. So probably by this point, whoever have programmed this very small program might have already used an IDE. For Java, if you are using notepads, which means that Notepad is your IDE. If you are using Notepad++, Notepad++ is your IDE. So for Flutter, the IDE options which we have is Android Studio. When I say Android Studio, this is the Android Studio which we are going to install now. So this is an IDE. Android Studio is an IDE. The tool which you are seeing on the screen, where I have created these files and everything. So this is called Visual Studio Code. This is also an IDE. Notepad++ is an IDE. So it is very important for you guys to know about more IDEs. As long as you know that Flutter can be developed using Android Studio, Visual Studio Code. The IDE where I am typing this stuff is Visual Studio Code. For our development purpose, we are going to use Android Studio and Visual Studio Code for developing the Flutter apps. Okay, but in real time, if you take Notepad++, this is also an IDE. So if you take just Notepad, when I say Notepad, so this is Notepad. Okay, so even like you can use this as an IDE for programming. Okay, but it will not come with many options. Okay, you can say that I am simply using Notepad for developing my apps. If you are going with Notepad, it will not come up with many other options. Like for example, creating a Flutter program in Visual Studio Code will be very easy. In Android Studio it will be easy. If you are using Notepad, it will be stuff. You need to go to command line, create a Flutter project and edit the files using Notepad. For example, if you take this program, this is loaded in Android Studio, right? What I can do is I can open the files on the disk. Okay, so instead of using an IDE to edit this file, I can just open click. Okay, open with more apps and Notepad. Okay, so I'm unselecting this so that it will not open in the future using Notepad. I can just edit it like this, and if I save, it will save also. Okay, so probably you guys might be using Notepad already. So you can edit code using Notepad also. Okay, but we don't specifically call Notepad as an IDE, but we can always use Notepad for coding. And at the same time, if you want more features, you have to use integrated development environment. The reason why you need to know about multiple integrated development environments is it will add value to your profile. Okay, when you call yourself as a developer, so for example, tomorrow two Flutter developers have met. Okay, two of you guys have met or three of you guys have met. Then one of the common question which you should ask to others is, hey, what IDE you are using? Okay, I could, like, the other guy will answer, I am using Android Studio. How about you? Hey, I am using Visual Studio Code. It is really very light. You should definitely try Visual Studio Code. Okay, so tomorrow if you are starting your job in some company, if you are not going to use an IDE, like for example Android Studio, Visual Studio Code and Notepad++ for your development, it's going to make your life really tough. It's like you are going to start things from the scratch. The important thing about IDE is when you install some software, you will get an IDE. Probably somebody packaged it that way. Like when we call something a package, it's a combination of programs, like multiple programs, not a single program. Now at this point we had downloaded the Flutter. Okay, so the key thing to remember is if you open this file, you're seeing some files. Okay, this is a combination of multiple programs. Multiple people develop multiple programs and they will combine as a package. Flutter is a package. Flutter is a SDK. Still it's a package. Okay, they packaged it into a zip file. Some guys package softwares into .exe files, or some guys package it into .rar files. For example, I can just right click and package these two files, send to .zip file, or I can use some tools to actually call these two files. I can just go ahead and create a install.bat file. I can make it call these two files sequentially and create a new package. So in the same way, your Turbo C or Borland C, they are actually packaged by someone else, which actually consists of multiple programs. So while doing that, they might have thought that let's package C++ programs with actual C++ SDK using Turbo C, and the other guy thought that okay, let's package with Borland C. That's why you are using Borland C out there. Okay, you are actually installing Borland C. Anyways, Borland C is more popular with C or C++. You are getting C++. Okay, the guy who packaged it thought it that way. When you are installing C or C++, you are using Turbo or Borland C. When you are actually using Python, some IDE is coming with along with the software, but you don't really have to stick with that software. Okay, what I mean is when you are installing Android Studio, when you are actually going to install this file, it will install Android Studio. But that doesn't mean that you should always use Android Studio for developing your apps. Okay, you can use other stuff also. There is a terminology. Is your IDE lightweight or heavyweight? Okay, for example, light or heavy. So when it comes to heavy, Android Studio comes under heavy category and Visual Studio comes under light. What is meant by heavy and light here? For example, if I open Android Studio, it will take long time to load. Okay, so let me close this once and let me open it again. Okay, so what happens is it will show some window here loading, and then it will try to load, and see, everything is loading. Everything is taking time. Okay, this means even though I'm having a very good computer, it is taking time to load. Okay, and trust me, like going through code and everything is like you will feel heavy. That's why this comes under a heavy category. Maybe some guys will feel that Android Studio is really good, I'm going to use Android Studio only instead of other IDEs. That's still fine, because that's his personal opinion that Android Studio is not heavy. But even though I'm having good computer, it takes time for me to open apps in Android Studio, so I consider it heavy. So that's why I will not use heavy IDEs. Okay, but it's up to you guys. Like you might think that okay, let me use Android Studio for some more days. So it's still fine, and you might find really good options to reduce this load time. Okay, there might be options, but the community, like most of the Flutter developers, think that this is heavyweight. Even the IntelliJ, whichever I'm mentioning, right, that is also a heavyweight. Okay, so when it comes to lightweight, you will feel the lightness of the tool. For example, I've opened some app, right? Let me open an app in Visual Studio Code. So if I open this, you can see the app open instantly, which means that it's lightweight, and it will comes with tons of features. It's important, and the important thing to remember is Android Studio comes with Android, which means that you won't be able to use it for other programs. Okay, but don't take it for granted. It might be actually supporting it at some level, like, because most of the IDEs have some plugins. Okay, so when I open Android Studio, it will have some plugins. You might be not seeing these plugins as part of Borland C or Turbo C. Okay, because these are some advanced IDEs, right? Borland C and Turbo C, they are very basic. So if I go to File, Settings, it actually have something called plugins, okay, which will allow me to run other programs. Flutter is an outsider, Dart is an outsider. So I think I need to explain what is Dart here. So Dart is a programming language which is used by Flutter. Java is the programming language used by Android. Objective-C is the programming language used for iOS development. So in the same way, for Flutter development, we are using Dart. Flutter is an outsider. So how they are enabling an outsider to work with Android Studio? Through plugins. Okay, so when I just go here and install it, it will actually combine Android Studio and Flutter, so that I will be able to develop Flutter apps using Android. Okay, maybe probably you have heard Kotlin. Okay, so many other things. In the same way, if for example Google have thought that, okay, let me give support for C, so they can actually provide a plugin for C where you will install C, and then you will be able to develop C apps using Android Studio. So as simple as that. But when it comes to lightweight integrated development environments, they support tons of plugins, not like Android Studio. Android Studio is more specific for Android development only. But when it comes to lightweight development environments, which are often provided third party, when you heard like third party, here in Flutter comes like with Android Studio, right? Like when you are actually installing Flutter, you are installing Android Studio as well, which means that Android is not a third party for Flutter. Okay, but we decided to go with some third party IDE. Visual Studio Code will be a third party IDE. Let me show the Visual Studio Code site. Okay, Visual Studio Code, and you can see that it has opened. So code editing redefined. In short, an IDE means the environment you are going to use to develop your apps. So it's an integrated development environment. In community, the most popular question that is often asked is, what IDE you are using for your Flutter development? In my answer is Visual Studio Code. Some people are actually asking some questions like this: can we install Flutter without Android Studio? Because probably they are having a low-end mission and they don't want Android Studio to take up the space. The answer is, it might be possible, but I never tried. Okay, but since we are following the step-by-step instructions from the site, we actually have to install the Android Studio. Maybe if you really want to experiment, you can actually try. So far we have discussed about this IDE. I think it's clear, right? Now you guys know what is IDE and what are the benefits of having an IDE. Okay, maybe after few days you felt like, okay, I'm bored with Visual Studio. There is something like Atom. Okay, there are so many things. Okay, Atom might be popular in other operating system, but Visual Studio Code is my favorite one, and I often recommend everybody to use it. And even Google recommends Visual Studio Code. Okay, I will show you. There is actually a check, okay, which is done when you are installing Flutter, which will say that VS Code is not installed, because VS Code is the recommended IDE for Flutter development. Okay, we'll stop about IDE over here and then go ahead with the installation. Now let's go to the step-by-step instruction, and we have completed this step. Okay, so and there is a step, update your path. If you wish to run Flutter commands in regular Windows console, take the steps to add Flutter to the path environment variables. Actually, this is an important step. Probably most of the guys will be uncomfortable while doing this step, but this is a mandatory step, I can say. I think even though if we don't do this, it will work fine. So why we have to do this step is, at this point we have actually installed the Flutter in CSRC Flutter. Okay, there will be a file flutter console.bat. If I just click it, okay, it's saying no run, just click more info and click run anyway. If you see, I've opened Flutter console and I will try to run a command, flutter doctor. Okay, flutter doctor is something everybody should remember. Whenever I run this command, it will show whether my setup is working fine or not. You can see that doctor summary, it is saying that Flutter is actually installed. I think more, even if you run now, you will be getting this. Okay, and then you can see that Android is not installed, which means that we have not yet installed this Android Studio. Okay, we'll execute this file shortly, and then it is saying that Android Studio and connected devices. Actually, I was saying sometime back that Visual Studio Code is the recommended one, right? I think in recent installation they actually changed this to Android Studio. Connected devices, this is not an issue. Okay, so I will come to this part later. Okay, so there are 3 issues which needs to be resolved now. So let's resolve this issue. So before resolving this issue, I want to clarify why we are doing this. Just type cmd and open command prompt. Okay, most of the guys might be knowing how to open command prompt. Okay, I'm going to run Flutter over here. Okay, Flutter is not recognized here. Flutter doctor. Okay, Flutter doctor is also not recognized. When I run this file, you can see this and both CMDs are pointing to same path, but Flutter doctor is not recognized over here, but it is recognized over here. So in order to make Flutter doctor recognizable from anywhere, we need to add that to the environment variables. Probably most of you might have done this while setting up your Java environment, right? Let's add the environment variables. How we add it? So just type environment variables. Environmental system variables. Okay, and then advanced tab, you can see environment variables. Okay, so so to make things easy, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually check my local computer environment variables and set it accordingly. Okay, so you can see I have already added one thing over here, system variables. And okay, I think probably if you are adding just system variables, it will work fine. This is for the user. Okay, the user of this computer is 7, that's why it is showing like that. So what I'll go to system variables, click on new one, Flutter, and then the path we have to give it. So we have to point to the bin folder. So I can just copy it like this. If you are thinking that I am doing some advanced stuff, don't think like that. This is some of the basic stuff which every programmer should be doing when setting up their environment. Okay, but even if you don't do it, I don't think it will be a problem. But in order to make Flutter recognizable from every place, we have to do this stuff. Okay, I'm just clicking OK. Now let me go to CMD and see whether it is working or not. now actually I did something and I want it to work, right? So even if it doesn't work, it's fine. Okay, so we have to actually troubleshoot it. Flutter. Okay, it is still not recognizable. Let's see why. Maybe like I will add it here also. Oh, okay, so it's not recognizing. Let me check in my local computer. Okay, it's actually recognizing here. Okay. Let's see the documentation if we are missing some stuff. Okay, so anyways, we actually did this stuff. Okay, so here also you have to give. If the entry does not exist, okay, so I have to add it here, right? Okay. Okay, so I have added it there. Probably I will also add it here. Okay. Yeah, it's working. So let's go with the next step. So I'm closing this. I'm just going to the downloads and then I'm going to run the Android Studio IDE.exe. Let's check whether is that the next step. I think the next steps are not clearly mentioned in the documentation, but what they are saying is run Flutter Doctor and resolve the issues one by one. Okay, so now we know that when we run Flutter Doctor, now we can just go to CMD and run Flutter Doctor. So at this point Flutter is actually installed, but there are some issues, some more things which we have to download and then fix those issues. So Android is missing. Okay, unable to locate Android SDK, install Android Studio. Okay, even the instructions are here. On first launch it will assist you in installing the Android SDK components. If the Android SDK has been installed to a custom location, set Android underscore SDK root in that location. Okay, so here also, like if you are actually installing into custom location means you are setting up a different path for your Android installation. Okay, in that case what they are saying is set Android SDK root also. Okay, so I'm just minimizing it and I'm just running this file. In case if you are having any issues, we will sort it out later, and it's important that you don't have to sort out those issues immediately. Okay, because even though you don't have Android Studio, we can still start with the development. So Android, welcome to Android setup. Click next. Okay, I think this will be a very typical installation. No need to change anything. If you change anything later, you have to deal with those problems also. But it's like if you think that okay, let me experiment, you can actually experiment, but first time I recommend you guys to follow step-by-step instructions. Let's go ahead with the default installations. Okay, so it is getting installed. If you're having a slow machine, it will take some time. If you're having a good computer, it is running faster. So I will minimize this, and I think once this installation is finished, we'll go back to the screen again and run Flutter Doctor and see where are we with. Okay, so this is done. I'll go with the next topic to discuss actually. So next topic what I wanted to discuss is Dartpad. Okay, so what is Dartpad? So you can just go to Google, okay, search for Dartpad, and Dartpad link will appear here. Dartpad is nothing but the environment where you can run programs using the web browser. Okay, I can just run this, and then you can see it has given output like this. Okay, so here you can actually write some of the programs which gives some output also. Output in the sense some kind of UI output. So let me try that. Let me go to Flutter Cookbook. So let me take this example. So if you see this is also Dartpad. Okay, they have integrated that into the website. So I'm going to run the same example over here. Okay, you can see it is loaded. Okay, so if you're not able to get your Flutter installed, this is something what you should try. But on the other side, whenever you get some time, you have to fix your issues. Okay, so what I will do is I'll go to, like, tomorrow you found some GitHub project and you want to run it quickly. Okay, I think these UI programs I won't be able to run because they are having multiple files. So let me see if I can run this. So once we create a sample project, I will actually explain you what are these files. Like whenever you create some project, it will create a lot of files, right? I will try to cover what are those files and everything. Okay, and how important it is to know about those files also we'll discuss. So I just copy paste everything. So you can see that the animation is working. Okay, so you can see on mobile phone it looks like this. This is a wave animation Flutter which I have created. Okay, so now the installation is completed. So I just click next. So it has opened Android Studio. I'm not importing any settings because this is a very fresh installation, and Android Studio is now opening. Okay, this is a different version than what I'm having because that is the latest version. I'm having a old version. For like when you're installing any software these days, you'll get this kind of message. Do you allow our company to collect the data? Okay, so actually if you're having a very good computer and very fast internet, you can use this option. If you're having a slow computer, don't select it. You can click don't send. Okay, it's about making the product much better. So you really don't have to select send. Okay, you can always select don't send. But especially when you're doing something inside the companies, you select the don't send option only because you should avoid that such kind of interaction. Okay, so in setup, just click next, standard. So let me explain this. So these days dark themes are most popular. Okay, dark theme and light theme. Okay, dark themes are actually good for eyes. Light theme means like they are not that much good for eyes. Okay, so I can actually select dark theme, next, and then everything is set up, and then click finish, and you can see these are the things which are being installed. If you want to take a screenshot of these paths, go ahead and take it. I usually won't take it, but if you really want to avoid some issues later, you can actually take a screenshot of it and save it. Okay, finish. Okay, so actually it is downloading something from internet. We'll stop the session today. Tomorrow we will continue from here.